Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jayam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriye. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 17. The Lord travels to Vrindavan, text 104 onwards. So Mahaprabhu is in Kashi right now at the house of Tapan Mishra, and he met Chandrasekhar and a Maharashtrian Brahmin, and further, but says Prakashananda Shripad Sabhate Vasiya Vedanta Palaya Bahu Shishya Ganalaya. There was a great Mayavadi sannyasi named Prakashananda Saraswati, who used to teach Vedanta philosophy to a great assembly of followers. Sripad Prakashananda Saraswati was a Mayavadi sannyasi, and his characteristics have been described in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Being an impersonalist, Prakashananda Saraswati used to explain the absolute truth as being without hands, legs, mouths, or eyes. In this way, he used to cheat the people by denying the personal form of the Lord. Such a foolish person was Prakashananda Saraswati, whose only business was to sever the limbs of the Lord by proving the Lord impersonal. Although the Lord has form, Prakashananda Saraswati attempted to cut off the hands and legs of the Lord. This is the business of demons. So, Mayavadis, Prabhupada is comparing them to demons, because this is what they want to do, and this is what they do actually by their interpretation of scriptures. The Prabhupada, they attempt to cut off the hands and legs. So what they try to do by their philosophy is saying that the Lord has no hands, no legs, no eyes, no mouths, no ears. This is how they try to misguide people. The Vedas state that people who do not accept the Lord's form are rascals. Muloyam na vijanati. Even Krishna says. The form of the Lord is factual, for Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Vedesha sarver aham eva vedya. When Krishna says aham, he says I am, which means I, the person. He adds a word eva, which is used for conclusive verification. Thus, by studying Vedanta philosophy, one must come to know the Supreme Person. Whoever describes Vedic knowledge as impersonal is a demon. One becomes successful in life by worshipping the form of the Lord. The Mayavadi sannyasis deny the form of the Lord, which delivers all fallen souls. Indeed, the Mayavadi demons try to cut this form to pieces. So they say there is no actual form of the Lord. What we see is all made of Maya. That's why it's called Mayavad. The personality of Godhead is worshipped by exalted demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. The original Mayavadi sannyasi, Shankaracharya, who accepted the fact that the Lord's form is transcendental, Narayana Para Avyaktat. Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the Avyakta, the unmanifested material energy. Avyaktad Anda Sambhava. This material world is a creation of that unmanifested material energy. However, Narayan has his own eternal form, which is not created by the material energy. Simply by worshipping the form of the Lord, one is purified. However, Mayavadi sannyasis are impersonalist philosophers, and they describe the form of the Lord as Maya or false. How can one be purified by worshipping something false? So they say the form is false. It's made of Maya. So how can somebody be purified? By worshipping something false. Just like in material world, there could be so many forms, like form of, say, a statue of Gandhiji. So how can somebody be purified? By worshipping Gandhiji's statue? That's not possible. So that is Maya. But Lord's form is completely spiritual. Mayavadi philosophers have no sufficient reason for being impersonalists. They blindly follow a principle that cannot be supported by reason or argument. This was the situation with Prakashanand Saraswati, the chief Mayavadi sannyasi of Benares. He was supposed to teach Vedanta philosophy, but he would not accept the form of the Lord. Therefore, he was attacked with leprosy. Nonetheless, he continued to commit sins by describing the absolute truth as impersonal. The absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, always displays pastimes and activities. But Mayavadi sannyasis claim that these activities are false. So false in the sense that they're all made of Maya. Real is Brahm, Brahm Jyoti. That is ultimate. If the pastimes of the Lord, Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila, everything is actually divine, transcendental, that is why when we listen to these pastimes, we get purified. If they were only because of Maya or false, how can somebody get purified? Some people falsely claim that Prakashanand Saraswati later became known as Prabodhanand Saraswati, but this is not a fact. Prabodhanand Saraswati was the uncle and spiritual master of Gopal Bhatt Goswami. In his grihast life, Prabodhanand Saraswati was a resident of Sri Rangakshetra, and he belonged to the Vaishnava Ramanuja Sampradaya. It is a mistake to consider Prakashanand Saraswati and Prabodhanand Saraswati the same man. So, just because names are similar doesn't mean they are the same. एक विप्र देखी लाइला प्रभुर व्यवहार प्रकाशानंद आगे कहे चरित्र. A Brahman who saw the wonderful behavior of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Prakashanand Saraswati and described the Lord's activities, the Lord's characteristics. एक सन्यासी आइला जगन्नाथ हाई थे ताहार महिमा प्रताप न पारिवर्णी थे. The Brahman told Prakashanand Saraswati, there is a sannyasi who has come from Jagannath Puri, and I cannot describe his wonderful influence and glories. Sakal dekhiye tate adbhut kathan prakand sharir shuddha kanchana varam. Everything is wonderful about that sannyasi. He has a very well built and luxuriant body, and his complexion is like purified gold. Kanchan, Shuddha Kanchan, purified gold. Ajanu Lambita Bhuja, Kamalanayan, Yatakichu Ishwarera, Sarvasal Lakshan. He has arms that extend to his knees, and his eyes are like the petals of a lotus. In his person are all the transcendental symptoms of the Supreme Personality of God. Taha dekhi jnana hai, ei Narayan. Yehi tare dekhe kare Krishna Sankirtan. When one sees all these features, one takes him to be Narayan himself. Whoever sees him immediately begins to chant the holy names of Krishna. Mahabhagavad Lakshan Shuni Bhagavate Sei Sava Lakshan Prakat Dekhiya Tahate. We have heard about the symptoms of a first-class devotee in Srimad Bhagavatam. And all those symptoms are manifest in the body of Sri Chaitanya. Nirantar Krishna Nam Jivatar Gai Dui Netre Ashru Vahe Gangadhara Parai. His tongue is always chanting the holy names of Krishna, and from his eyes tears incessantly fall like the flowing Ganga. Kshane nache hase gaye karai krandana Kshane ho kar kare simera garjan. Sometimes he dances, laughs, sings and cries, and sometimes he roars like a lion. Jagat Mangal Tar, Krishna Chaitanya Nam, Nam Rupa Guna Tar, Sabanupam. His name, Krishna Chaitanya, is all auspicious for the world. Everything about him, his name, form, and qualities is unparalleled. Dekhile se jani tar, Ishwarera riti, alokika katha shuni ke kare pratiti. Simply by seeing him, one understands that he possesses all the characteristics of the Supreme Personality of God. Such characteristics are certainly uncommon. Who will believe it? Shuniya Prakashanand Bahut Hasila Vipre Upahas Kari Kahite Lagila. Prakashanand Saraswati laughed very much to hear this description. Joking and laughing at the Brahman, he began to speak as follows. Shuniyache Gaud Deshe Sannyasi Bhavuk Keshav Bharti Shishya Loka Prataraka. Prakashanand Saraswati said, I have heard about him. Yes, he is a sannyasi from Bengal and he is very sentimental. I've also heard that he belongs to Bharti Sampradaya, for he is a disciple of Keshav Bharti. However, he is only a pretender. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was considered bhavuk, sentimental, because he was always seen in the bhava stage. That is, he always exhibited ecstatic love for Krishna. However, foolish people considered him sentimental. In the material world, so-called devotees sometimes exhibit emotional symptoms. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love cannot be compared to the imitative, emotional exhibitions of pretenders. Such exhibitions do not continue for very long. They are temporary. We actually see that some emotional imitators exhibit certain symptoms, but immediately after their exhibition, they are attracted to smoking and other things. In the beginning, when Prakashanand Saraswati heard of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities, he considered them to be those of a pretender. Consequently, he called him a Loka Pratarak, a pretender. Mayavadis cannot understand the transcendental symptoms exhibited by a devotee. Therefore, when such symptoms are manifest, the Mayavadis equate them with temporary emotional feelings. However, Prakashanand Saraswati's statement is offensive and consequently he should be considered an atheist or Pashandi. Because he could not understand Mahaprabhu's symptoms. And no, not anybody and everybody is able to, unless until one is on devotional platform. He cannot understand other devotees' feelings, or emotions, or ecstatic symptoms. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, since Prakashanand Saraswati was not engaged in the Lord's devotional service, his sannyas is to be considered Falgu Vairagya. This means that since he did not know how to use things for the Lord's service, his renunciation of the world was artificial. So Falgu. So, according to Rupa Goswami, Prakashanand Saraswati is pretender. Not that Mahaprabhu is a pretender. Chaitanya Namatar Bhavuk Gana Laya Deshe Deshe Grame Grame Bulena Chaya. Prakashanand Saraswati continued. I know that his name is Chaitanya and that he is accompanied by many sentimentalists. So more bhavuk, more emotionalists or sentimentalists are with him. His followers dance with him and he tours from country to country and village to village. यही तारे देखे से ईश्वर करी का है ऐचे मोहन विद्या ये देखे से मोह है. Whoever sees him accepts him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, since he has some mystic power by which he hypnotizes people. Everyone who sees him becomes illusioned. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Pandita Prabal, Shuni Chaitanya Sange Hailapagal. Sarvam Bhattacharya was a very learned scholar, but I have heard that he also has become a madman due to his association with this Chaitanya. Sannyasi Nama Matra Maha Indra Jali Kashipure na Vikave Tara Bhavakali. This Chaitanya is a sannyasi in name only. Actually, he is a first-class magician. In any case, his sentimentalism cannot be very much in demand here in Kashi. So this is a precaution on this. And Mahaprabhu he went to Kashi just to transform the heart of this Prakashananda Saraswati. Vedanta Shravan kar, nayaya tar pasha, uchrinkhala loke sange dui lokanasha. Do not go to see Chaitanya. Just continue hearing Vedanta. If you associate with upstarts, you will be lost in this world and in the next. The word uchrinkhala means whimsical, is significant in this verse. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself says, if one acts whimsically and does not follow the Shastric principles, he will never attain perfection, happiness, or the spiritual. So, cannot act whimsically. And this is a precaution on this saying. Actually, he is acting whimsically, but he thinks he is acting according to scriptures. So, let's see what happens. Ete shuni se vipra mahadukha paila Krishna Krishna kahi tata aite uti gela. When the Brahman heard Prakashanand Saraswati speak like this about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became very much grief-stricken. Chanting the holy names of Krishna, he immediately left. Prabhura darshane shuddha haya chitarman. Prabhu age dukhi haya kahe vivara. The mind of the Brahman was already purified by his seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He therefore went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and described what had taken place before the Mayavadi sannyasi, Prakashananda. Shuni Mahaprabhu tabe ishat hasila, punarapi sai vipra, prabhure puchila. Hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mildly smiled. The Brahman then spoke again to the Lord. Tara age jabe hame tomar naam hai lailam. Seha tomara naam jane, apane kahila. The Brahman said, as soon as I uttered your name before him, immediately confirmed the fact that he knew your name. Tomara dosh kahite kare name rauchara, Chaitanya Chaitanya kari kahe tin bara. While finding fault with you, he uttered your name 3 times, saying Chaitanya Chaitanya Chaitanya. Tin bare Krishna nail tar mukhe, avagyate naam laye, shuni pae dukhe. Although he spoke your name 3 times, he did not utter the name Krishna. Because he uttered your name in contempt, I was very much aggrieved. Prakashanand Saraswati vilified and blasphemed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Words like Brahm, Chaitanya, Atma, Paramatma, Jagdish, Ishwar, Virat, Vibhu, Bhum, Vishwarup, and Vyapak are all indirectly indicate Krishna. However, the chanter of these names is not actually attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and his transcendental pastimes. One may get a little light from these names, but one cannot understand that the holy names of the Lord is identical with the Lord. One considers the Lord's name material due to poor fund of knowledge. Mayavadi philosophers and the Panchapasakas cannot in the least understand the existence of the spiritual world and the blissful variegatedness there. They cannot understand the absolute truth and its spiritual varieties, name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Consequently, they conclude that Krishna's transcendental activities are Maya. To avoid this misconception, one has to directly cultivate knowledge about the holy name of the Lord. Mayavadi philosophers do not know this fact, and therefore they commit great offenses. One should not hear anything about Krishna or devotion service from the mouths of Mayavadi impersonalists. So many instructions Prabhupada again and again giving to stay away from Mayavadis. They don't believe in form of the Lord, name of the Lord, Lila of the Lord. They don't believe in anything. And that's why they don't chant properly either. Ihar karan mor kaha kripa kari, toma dekhi mukh mor bale Krishna hari. Why could Prakashana not utter the names Krishna and Hari? He chanted the name Chaitanya thrice. As far as I am concerned, simply by seeing you, I am moved to chant the holy names Krishna and Hari. Prabhu kahe Mayavadi, Krishna aparadhi, Brahma Atma Chaitanya kahe Niravadi. The Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, the Mayavadi impersonalists are great offenders unto Lord Krishna. Therefore, they simply utter the words Brahm, Atma, and Chaitanya. अतएव तार मुखे न ऐसे कृष्ण नाम कृष्ण स्वरूप द्वैत समान. Because they are offenders unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is identical with his holy name. The holy name Krishna does not manifest in their mouths. Why? Because they are offenders. Naam Vigrah Swarup, tin ek rupa, tine bhed nahi, tin chid ananda rupa. The Lord's holy name, his form, and his personality are all one and the same. There is no difference between them. Since all of them are absolute, they are all transcendently blissful. So for a Mayavadi to go from everything about the Lord is made of Maya, it's all Maya, it's all false, from there to this conception, understanding that Lord's holy name, his form, his personality, they're all identical. They're all transcendental and identical. It's very difficult. Deha dehera nama namera Krishna nahi bheda, jivera dharma nam deha swarupe vibheda. There is no difference between Krishna's body and himself, or between his name and himself. But as far as the conditioned soul is concerned, one's name is different from one's body, from one's original form, and so on. See, our name is different from the body. Just like if somebody is calling me from India and I'm not there, I'm here. It's because I'm different from my name. Krishna is same. If somebody chants Krishna's name, Krishna is there. And his potency, if millions and trillions of people call his name at once, he will be there with all of those people, all of those chanters at the same time. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here in pointing out to the Brahman that Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand that the living entity is equal in quality with the Supreme Personality of God. Because they do not accept this, they think that the living entity has been falsely divided from the original Brahm due to being conditioned by Maya. Mayavadis believe that the absolute truth is ultimately impersonal. When an incarnation of God, the God himself comes, so they think that he is covered by Maya. In other words, Mayavadi impersonalists think that the Lord's form is also a product of this material world. Due to a poor fund of knowledge, they cannot understand that Krishna has no body separate from himself. So in Krishna, there is no difference. There is no soul and body. We have a soul and body. Krishna is same, inside out. Everything is same. His body and himself are both the same, absolute truth. And that is why recently this cricketer Virat Kohli has been in news. He had a son recently and he named him Akai. So, beautiful name. Never heard of this name before. But people are making out the meaning means Akai means no form, which to a layman, if this is what it means, Akai, no form, so Nirvikar, Nirakar. No, actual meaning is no material form, because we can only think of material. So Akaya actually means, the real meaning is, it's Krishna or Vishnu. No material form, it's all spiritual. But anyway, I don't know what their understanding is and why they named him Akai. But this is a real meaning. But this is what generally people don't understand. His body and himself are both the same absolute truth. Not having perfect knowledge of Krishna, such impersonalists certainly commit offenses at his lotus feet. Therefore, they do not utter Krishna, the original name of the absolute truth. In their impersonal way, they utter the name of impersonal Brahman, spirit soul. In other words, they indulge in indirect indications of the absolute truth. Even if they happen to utter the names Govinda, Krishna, Madhava, they still cannot understand that these names are as good as Govinda, Krishna, or Madhava, the person. Because they are ultimately impersonalists, their uttering of the personal name has no potency. Actually, they do not believe in Krishna, but consider all these names to be material vibrations. Not being able to appreciate the holy name of the Lord, they simply utter indirect names like Brahm, Atma, and Chaitanya. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes in one place that chanting of these names, if we don't have that devotion in our heart, then the names are coming out when we are chanting Krishna, Rama, Hare. So he compared that to when the kids play with guns. So they play with guns, and whether the bullets come out or they're playing with Diwali guns, the sound comes out, but it has no power. It's when they do this ta 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 ta, only the sound comes, nothing else. So he compared all these Mayavadis, or when we are also chanting without any devotion, understanding, then all these alphabets come out of our mouth, or all the sounds come out of our mouth, but it's not the Hari Naam. It's not the same as holy name. When a devotee chants, then when he's chanting Hare Krishna, then the holy name is coming out. Not just Hare Kara Shana. No. So this is what Prabhupada is saying. Their uttering of the personal name has no potency. In fact, yes, it will give them some benefit sooner or later, but not the same benefit of chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's a fact, however, that the name of Krishna and Krishna, the person, are both spiritual. Everything about Krishna is transcendent, blissful, and objective. For a conditioned soul, the body is different from the soul, and the name given by the Father is also different from the soul. The conditioned living entity's identification with material objects keeps him from attaining his actual position. Although he is an eternal servant of Krishna, he acts differently. The Swarup, or actual identification of the living entity, is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Jivera Swarupa e Krishnera Nityadas. The conditioned soul has forgotten the real activities of his original position. However, this is not the case with Krishna. So we forget because we are in Maya. Krishna never comes under the jurisdiction of Maya. Maya is his energy, his servant. Krishna's name and his person are identical. There is no such thing as Maya Krishna because Krishna is not a product of the material creation. There is no difference between Krishna's body and his soul. Krishna is simultaneously both soul and body. The distinction between body and soul applies to conditioned souls. The body of the conditioned soul is different from the soul, and the conditioned soul's name is different from his body. One may be named Mr. John, but if we call for Mr. John may never actually appear. However, if we utter the holy name of Krishna, Krishna is immediately present on our tongue. In the Padma Puran, Krishna says, Mad Bhakta Yatra Gayanti Tatra Tishtami Narad. O Narad, I am present wherever my devotees are chanting. When the devotees chant the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Lord Krishna is immediately present. And Prabhupada at one place also said, when we are chanting, when we're doing our japa, Radharani and Krishna are dancing on our tongue. So when we chant, we should visualize that Radharani and Krishna dancing on our tongue. We cannot see them because we are not pure enough. But this is what Prabhupada said. And Nam Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Ras Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Abhinatvam Nam Nam. The holy name of Krishna is transcendently blissful. It bestows all spiritual benedictions. For it is Krishna himself, the reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna's name is complete and it's the form of all transcendental mellows. It is not a material name under any condition, and it is no less powerful than Krishna himself. Since Krishna's name is not contaminated by material qualities, there is no question of its being involved with Maya. Krishna's name is always liberated and spiritual. Always liberated and spiritual. It is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. This is because the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are identical. So this is how powerful it is. This is a quotation from Padma Puran. Ateva Krishnera Nama Deha Vilas Prakritendriya Graya Nahe Hai Swaprakash. The holy name of Krishna, his body and his pastimes, cannot be understood by the blunt material senses. They are manifested independently. Since Krishna's transcendental body, name, form, qualities, pastimes, and entourage are all the absolute truth, they are as good as Krishna himself. As long as the living entity is conditioned by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the objects of his material senses, material form, taste, smell, sound, touch, will not help him understand spiritual knowledge and bliss. Rather, these are revealed to the pure devotee. One's material name, form, and qualities are certainly different from one another. In the material world, there is no conception of absolute. However, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we find that there is no material difference between Krishna's body and his names, activities, and entourage. So yes, his name, form, pastimes cannot be understood by the blunt material senses. So how to purify these blunt material senses? In Kali Yuga, chanting is the only way. So when we keep on chanting, slowly, our senses start to get purified. And then we can understand, not just understand, then everything will be revealed to us to the extent we are purified. But that purification has to come, and it comes by chanting only. There is no other way. Krishnam, Krishna Guna, Krishna Lila Vrinda, Krishnera Swarupa Sama, Sab Chidana. Krishna's holy name, transcendental qualities and transcendental pastimes are all equal to Lord Krishna himself. They're all spiritual and full of bliss. Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grayam indriya, sevan mukhe hi jivvado, swayam eva spurati yada. Therefore, material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities, and pastimes. When a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of the Lord's food, the tongue is purified, and one gradually comes to understand who really Krishna is. So, service, sevan mukhe hi jivato. So, tongue starts with service, starts with tongue, chanting and eating of prasad. It's so simple, actually. Brahmananda haite Purnananda Lila rasa, Brahma Jnani Akarshiya Kare Atma Vasham. The mellows of Krishna's pastimes, which are full of bliss, attract the Jnani from the pleasure of Brahma realization and conquer him. When one understands that he belongs not to material world, but to the spiritual world, one is called liberated. Being situated in the spiritual world is certainly pleasurable, but those who realize the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Lord Krishna enjoy transcendental bliss many times more than one who has simply realized the self. So simply realize the self that I'm not this body, I'm spirit, soul. But the position of spirit, soul is much beyond that. It's just like if somebody does a course of engineering. So he graduates from college and he is an engineer. But if it doesn't work as an engineer, doesn't do internship, doesn't practice engineering, is he still called an engineer? Not, I mean, yes, as for certificate wise, yes, but otherwise, no. So same thing here. If somebody has come to the level that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul, but not engaged in the constitutional position of work of the spirit soul, then should he be called realized? What's the value of that realization? When one is situated on the platform of self-realization, he can certainly be easily attracted by Krishna and become a servant of the Lord. So at that stage, it's easy, but if he still doesn't, then what's the value? One who is thus transcendently situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. So when one becomes spiritually realized, Brahma Bhuta, he becomes very happy, prasannat, for he is relieved from material conceptions. One who has attained this platform is not agitated by material action and reaction. He sees everyone on the platform of spiritual soul, on the spirit soul. When one is completely realized, he can rise to the platform of pure devotional service. When one comes to the platform of bhakti, devotion service, he automatically realizes who Krishna is. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Amam Avijanat. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of God, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. It's only on the bhakti platform that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his transcendental name, form, qualities, pastimes, and associates, entourage. So only by bhakti platform it's possible. So those who are not like Prakashan and Saraswati, they cannot understand Krishna's name, form, pastimes, anything, or or the activities of devotees. They just cannot understand because they don't have that mercy of the Lord. Anyway, I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisance.
Hare Krishna, Manta.
Prabhuji, like here in my society, there are few ladies who are very, they just come up together and they do kirtan. It's like their bhajan is not the Vaishnavas ISKCON bhajan, but yes, that is good. So, and I also find it very nice going and doing kirtan with them. So, is it okay to do kirtan with people, even though they are not
Yeah,
singing Vaishnava?
yeah. Otherwise, how will they'll transform? How are they going to transform?
Okay.
So you have to give them your association.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, actually, because one of them is from Mathura, so she knows actually, she is very experienced and she knows most of the Krishna's bhajan, Gopi Geet also she knows. So that
Mhm.
माता जी मतलब वो बहुत सीनियर हैं, तो वो बहुत अच्छे से बेटा आप आया करो, हम मिलके कीर्तन करेंगे. एंड उनकी वजह से एक माहौल बन गया सोसाइटी में. शाम में हमेशा कीर्तन का माहौल रहता है एकदम बैठ
That's
के.
good. And she is a Brajvasini, so very much advanced.
यस प्रभु जी, यस प्रभु जी, क्योंकि उनकी वजह से मतलब पहले भी करते थे लोग, बट जब से वो आए हैं तब से ये चीज बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गई है. और वो एकदम जो लोकल ब्रजवासी गीत होती है ना, वो भी हमें बताती हैं, सिखाती हैं. फिर वो मुझे बोल रहे थे कि एक दिन हम लोग गोपी गीत गाएंगे, तो उन्होंने वो लाया था वो बुक में, बोला कि चलो हम इस पे बैठ के कभी गाएंगे. मैंने बोला मैं थोड़ा अभी इतना मेरा लेवल नहीं है, बट हाँ कभी गाएंगे, गा सकते हैं. मुझे थोड़ा सा झिझक हो रहा था कि गाना चाहिए कि नहीं.
हाँ, it's part of Bhagavatam, भाई. इसमें क्या
यस यस यस, वो मैंने वो एक्चुअली वही बीच बीच में हम लोगों का डिस्कशन होता है प्रभु जी, तो देन आई जस्ट टेल देम अबाउट कि देखिए ये सब जो जाति पाति है, ये सब जो, बिकॉज दे टेल कि कौन से कास्ट के हो, ऐसा वैसा. कभी कभी किसी ने पूछ दिया, तो फिर मैं उनको फिर ऐसे ही बीच बीच में कभी उनको बता देती हूँ कि हाँ भगवत गीता में तो ऐसा बताया है कृष्ण कि वो तो उन्होंने तो कोई जाति नहीं बनाई, उन्होंने तो वर्ण बनाया, वर्ण बनाया. तो फिर वो बोलते हैं अच्छा ऐसा है क्या. तो फिर वही वो मतलब अच्छा लगता है प्रभु जी मुझे भी. और मेरे ऑफिस का एक बहुत बड़ा स्ट्रेस बस्टर हो जाता है वो, ऑफिस से खत्म करके उनके साथ बैठ करके कीर्तन करना.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
बट मुझे बस यही था कि मतलब पता नहीं वो परंपरा के मुताबिक करना ठीक है कि नहीं, पता नहीं.
You're doing it so. For preaching, we have to do many things.
यस यस
But
प्रभु
you're
जी.
chanting, rest everything is
ओके ओके प्रभु जी. ओके,
okay.
थैंक यू सो मच प्रभु जी.
Okay,
हरे
Mata.
कृष्ण.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
हरे
Prabhupada.
कृष्ण.
Jai Shila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji.